people tend to go with what they're most comfortable with. And like, for me, it's that like sunglasses half down my face. Like that's my look. So like, it's hard for me to stray away from that, which is, I don't know why that's my look. I don't know why.
Like you right now should be your profile picture. I think you look amazing right now. You got the nice turtleneck. It's very like natural, great lighting. The sunglasses, like, it's kind of like not hot. Like, is that okay for me to say?
I feel like it looks like very basic.
Yeah, it's super basic, and you're not as basic as I think sometimes, you might want to be. I think that's actually it. I think you're not as basic as you might want to be, which is an amazing thing.
I don't want to be basic. Hey guys, it's Ilana.
And Jonah.
And welcome back to another episode of Seeing Other People.
So that was intentionally repeat after, I guess, me in that case. Is that what we were doing?
We were just on the same wavelength in sync. It's not all about you.
I guess it's not. I'm just making you full screen. There we go. What's up?
He wants to see me bigger. He wants my face to be his entire screen, you guys. He misses me.
Well, we're not doing this in the same room like we did last time, which we learned was actually much more difficult than doing it over Zoom.
Not to mention that it was much more difficult, but I also left my phone at his apartment. I left my mic stand at his apartment, and we couldn't even record a decent video. So never again. Yeah, we're never going to be in person again in our lives.
I was shocked at how much you left here. The phone, the mic stand, a phone case that you took off.
The phone case. Oh shit, you're right.
Are you typically not very good at leaving places? This is something I was wondering. I'm serious.
I mean, maybe I was doing that thing. Maybe subconsciously, I was doing that thing where I leave things so that you have to see me again, but I wasn't.
But yeah, typically,
why would I leave my phone? I need that.
Typically, you leave like a bracelet or a watch, but or earrings. But you left a phone, a tripod, a mic stand. It's as if you just like left and were like, fuck it, I'm just gonna I don't even care about this stuff. But
well, if you know what, if my subconscious was trying to do that, the plan failed because I haven't gotten any of it back yet.
Right,
and we haven't even discussed when. No, I need my phone.
It's gonna be a while.
All right, we'll figure that out.
I put your phone in a drawer because it wouldn't stop beeping, and I was like, I can't do this. But the battery died, and so now I'm much more relieved because you just get.
Did you get the video off of it?
No, I have to do that, but I'll charge it and I'll take it off at some point. Anyway, welcome everybody. Ilana, what are we talking about today? Okay,
so this episode has been in very high demand, and we thought, why keep you all waiting when this is what you need to hear? And of course, especially in the era of COVID and quarantine, how else can you meet somebody besides on a dating app? And so the big demand has been for tips to improve your dating profile, to improve the conversations you're having, to actually make dating apps work. We know that dating apps are a great thing. We know that so many people that we know in our lives have met, fallen in love, gotten married, gotten engaged, adopted puppies, had babies, all that fun stuff from dating apps. But we also know that they can be very overwhelming and occasionally not productive, and also a bit difficult if you're not setting yourself up for success. So we're here to walk you through all of that from every step of the way, from setting up your profile to starting a conversation to how to keep that conversation going and move it off the app, get on a date, etc.
Yeah. The problem is that they can be overwhelming and not productive. And we're trying to figure out how do we fix that? And it all boils down to, I think, Ilana, at least from what we've learned over the years, is creating the most authentic version of yourself on the app. That is the thesis statement for what we're trying to do on here. Authenticity.
It is. And I'm going to interrupt you right here for 1 second.
Please do.
Now
I need to be interrupted more, by the way. Please interrupt me a lot. Because people think I interrupt you. So please.
Well, here's the thing that people don't understand is that it's really hard to do this over Zoom when we're not in the same place. If you're in the studio together or in person, you see each other's body language, you see someone make a quick facial expression that they're about to jump in. It's a lot easier to have that dynamic. So cut Jonah some slack. I've never felt interrupted.
Appreciate that.
Wow.
Wait, what were you going to say though?
What I was going to say is I have like the ick right now about the word authenticity because of Victoria on The Bachelor.
Oh, what did she say about
She's like,
authenticity?
I am authentic and everyone here is not letting me be my most authentic self. And I'm like,
that
my God,
for sure means that she's like she's for sure like not real. But anyway, this is I think one of the phrases we can use here when it comes to dating profile, overall general thesis, more authentic. But what does that mean? I think I was taking some notes and I liked this term that I wrote down. Thoughtful, but not overthought. And I think that could be, I was kind of like, that's a good lyric.
Thoughtful, but not overthought.
So the way the episode's going to work, we're going to talk about profile setup. We're going to talk about pictures, prompts, your bio, all that stuff. We're going to talk about what happens after you match with somebody, then how to keep the combo going, how to keep it, how to start the conversation, how to get it off the app.
I'm interrupting Jonah because he's just repeating everything I already said.
No, I'm telling them the course of the episode and the order that we're going to go in so they know what to expect when.
Okay.
I'm teasing the entirety of the episode. Then what if you don't get any matches, how to get back with an old match, and then of course, how to re-download the app after this endless cycle of dating continues. Let's talk about profile setup. You open up that app.
Setup.
You just got out of a relationship or you're like, you know what, finally, I'm going to go on these apps, see what it's all about. The first thing I think most apps ask you to do is upload a pic. Mm-hmm. What are the do's and don'ts for the profile picture setup? And what are you looking for when you're swiping away on some dudes? What is Ilana attracted to?
Well, Ilana's going to throw it out there because I know everyone is thinking it. Leave the fish in the water. No fish. Don't be like, oh, look at me holding this big fish. I bet everyone's going to want to see that. No, they don't. They don't want to see that. So we're going to just get that out of the way right here, right now. Leave the fish in the water and off of your profiles. So I think when it comes to actually setting up your profile and picking like the photos and the order of photos, there are a few things that you really want to look for. One, you want to make sure that people can actually tell what you look like. Sometimes people try and do like super far away pictures or pictures that are like seemingly artsy, but like super filtered and you can't actually see who you are. It's really important that someone can actually look at your profile and be able to like get to the bottom of it and know what you look like, because it provides comfort rather than like, oh, like maybe I think I know what this person looks like, but I don't know. And like, maybe I'll find out in person. I don't know. Like that's weird. You want to go into a situation where when you're talking to someone, you can kind of picture them in your head. And if you are going to meet them, you know exactly who you're looking for. That being said, I think definitely the most important thing is that first photo is just of you. Do not put a friend or a cousin or sibling or parent. Parents fine, but like don't put anyone else in that first photo that people are going to have to play a guessing game of like, oh, who's Jonah? You know, let that first photo really be like a picture of you that is clear. You don't have sunglasses on. You're not so far away. It's just a picture of you. It might not be the best picture of you in the world, but it's a good picture of you.
Can we go back to the point you made about a picture that looks like you to avoid like a catfishing thing? Mm-hmm. I think half the time people don't actually perceive themselves how they actually look. So what can someone do to make sure that the profile, that the picture they're choosing, to them, it might look like them. Right. But to the rest of the world, I mean, I want to use a quick example here. I have a friend who's a girl, not a girlfriend. I do not have a girlfriend. I don't want a relationship.
Don't worry, my heart didn't skip a beat just now. Yeah.
A lot of collapsed. You guys are, and we were going through her dating profile and I was like, you know, everyone again, forgive the hot take here, but I was like, you know, these other pictures of you look so much more like beautiful in my opinion, right? Like it's these photos where she's not wearing makeup and she's just kind of got this like really natural beauty and she is super, super beautiful. And then the profile pictures on her app were these like heavily made up, what seemed like a little bit of visco cam work done. Yeah. And she's like, oh, I'm hotter in these. And I'm like, well, if you're trying to attract guys like me, which I think you are, because you've told me that you wanted to just date guys like me, then I think you should go with these other photos. And she was like, no, like I don't look hot in them. I'm like, yes, you do. And I'm telling her point blank, like, you know, I'm like showing her the fucking map, right? And she couldn't.
What did she end up doing?
She changed it on the spot because like I was like telling her to do it. We were hanging out, and then she changed it back. And she was like, I just didn't look good in those. And I was like, I literally feel like I'm taking a crazy pill right now because the logic here isn't tracking. So is there anything? What do you recommend? I mean, first of all, the easy recommendation is that you show it to someone of the desired sex.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah.
But and here's the thing: is like if maybe like. We all have like what we think is like our best photos of ourselves. I would maybe instead, if you're not sure if you're going to totally agree with like the one person you're talking to, maybe like put together a group chat of a few trusted sources, both of your desired sex, but then also like some friends who you know are going to be critical. Like we all have those friends who are going to say, oh my God, you look amazing in everything. Like you're perfect, whatever. And they'll hype you up no matter what. We love those friends. Those friends are not for this. Those friends are for like everything but this. You need to hit up your friends who you know are going to tell you how it is and really be like, okay, like you look good in this picture, but it's not the right picture for this. Or like you look a lot better in that picture that you haven't considered.
By the way, if you guys want to send Ilana and I, you know, we can help you sort of shift through it. This is probably a great time to just quickly plug our Patreon account, where one of the benefits of our Patreon is a profile recharge. And I want to really quickly shout out our first person who signed up for that. We just got a thread started with him. It's going to be awesome. But we can do this for you on call, basically. I do think you're right, though. I think it's the desired sex, and I think it's listen to them. The first part of it is seeking the help, but the second half of it is listening to it once you hear it. Ilana, you famously sent me a bunch of photos. You were like, which one should I post? And I was like, well, you look best in this one. And you were like, nope, I don't. I'm going to post this one. I'm like, well, how do you know? How do you know what you look like? I mean, that's your happiness, I guess. Then that's your truth. I can't take that from you. But
yeah, it is hard because we all have different opinions. But at the end of the day, people tend to go with what they're most comfortable with. And like for me, it's that like sunglasses half down my face. Like that's my look. So like it's hard for me to stray away from that. Which is I don't know why that's my look. I don't know why.
Like you right now should be your profile picture. I think you look amazing right now. You got the nice turtleneck. It's very like natural, great lighting. The sunglasses, like. It's kind of like not hot. Like, is that okay for me to say?
I feel like it looks like very basic.
Yeah, it's super basic. And you're not as basic as I think sometimes, you know, you might want to be. I think that's actually it. I think you're not as basic as you might want to be, which is an amazing thing.
I don't want to be basic.
Then don't post the sunglass pic with the little white dog in Florida.
Okay, first of all, that dog was not white. Anywho, continue, back on track. Okay, so photos. Okay. Other things to talk about photos. Yeah, so obviously, like we said and went on a tangent on, definitely like reference your trusted group of friends and make sure that you can be seen in those pictures. No fish. Mostly solos. Definitely the first one should be a solo pic of just you. I do think it's nice to have like one photo with friends, whether it's one friend or 4 friends. I think it's nice just because like those are your people and that is your comfort and your happy place. And eventually, like if someone ends up like, I don't know, I usually like to look at like a group of friends and be like, oh, like these are this guy's people, you know, like these are the people I'd be hanging out with. Like, maybe they remind me of someone I know and make me feel comfortable, or like these seem like a really fun group of people. It also just shows that like you have friends and you have a social life. And I think everyone likes to see that. What do you think?
I agree. I think that the men should have that. I don't think that actually helps or hurts the other side of it. Right. Like, I don't think I've ever cared if there's a group, like I've never like, oh, she doesn't have any pictures with friends. Red flag. Okay. Also, you also run the risk of something that we do sometimes, which is romanticize that friend in the picture, you know?
I forget who I was going over my profile with recently, but I had one picture with another friend and we were in the pool and like, she was like behind me and you could hardly see her, but I forget who it was. They were like, no, like you have to get rid of this picture, Ilana. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, I'm just looking at her. I'm not even looking at you. I'm like, okay, like I know she's more attractive than me, but like, you can tell who I am. Like I'm the front like part of this picture. And they're like, no, you have to get rid of it. I'm like, oh my God, okay. But like, that's fine. Like whatever, I accept it.
My concrete advice is if you're trying to attract someone like me, then I would not necessarily you don't need to put a friend pic in there, but it sounds like it's the opposite. If you're trying to attract someone like Ilana, then that might help. Photos, I agree. That's pretty much, also recent. I think it's very obvious. We're all pretty good at photography these days because of the whole iPhone thing. We can tell when a photo, right. We can tell when a photo is, from 2010, which is 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago now. So let's go ahead and make sure the photos are recent.
Yes. We got one blurry. Question, not blurry, correct. We got one question from a listener on our Instagram story last night. For guys, are shirtless pictures a yay or a nay? I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. I don't think it's like showy or too much. I think I'm just like, okay, that's what you look like. And like, if I see someone and they don't have like a 6-pack, I'm like more comfortable with that anyway.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're comfortable with your body and you're fine showing it off, the same way like girls post thirst traps. Like if you have a picture that you think you look good in and you don't have a shirt on in it, it's fine.
Dope.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about once you've selected your photos.
Yes.
Now, all these apps, we have prompts these days. And I think every app has its own language that it uses. But let's talk about the basics of how to approach these prompt answers.
Yep.
I think what's helpful to do real quick is to talk about some of the most common answers that, of course, have become part of meme culture. And we all know
prefacing this as do not use these.
Yeah, and unless you're using them hyper ironically, which would be very difficult to do. So the most common ones from Jonah's feed, right? So this is the people who I'm seeing in my algorithm. There we go, algorithm word. And you might have this, and if you have this, change it because it's cliche. So here we go. Being overly competitive about everything. I think almost every other person has this, and
at least,
doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
One of my favorite ones is doesn't take themselves too seriously. I'm looking for someone who doesn't take myself too seriously, which we're going to get back to. Also means nothing. Someone who then writes down that the office is not a personality trait, which doesn't make any sense because also not saying that the office is not a personality trait also isn't a personality trait.
Wait, do people now are using that?
Correct. People are now saying, not that they're saying they like the office.
Let's just leave the office out unless you're using a specific reference to characters or something that happened in the show. Yes.
Do you know how much 3 vasectomies? It's from the dinner party. One of my favorite ones, which is looking for someone to make me laugh. Ridiculous. New York Times. Everybody on my feed is apparently obsessed with the New York Times crossword puzzle.
And obsessed. I've never seen that once.
Really? Interesting.
And I don't do the New York Times crossword puzzle. I do the word thing, that circle where there's the letter in the middle and you have to all the that's the one that's fun. My dad sends it to me, my mom and my aunt every weekend.
Dream Dinner Guest, Larry David, and now a new one that pops up is John Mulaney. A lot of women out there obsessed with John Mulaney.
What?
Tall, skinny dudes. They have something going for them.
On that note, Dream Dinner Guest, No, none of that. We're getting rid of that. We're canceling that. Canceling that.
The word sushi is hyper common. I have about 3 more here. Being a package deal with either a cat or a dog in a photo. Which I guess is good to know. Like you want to know if someone has a pet that they're like super involved with in the case you're allergic to a dog or a cat. You'll know I like you if I introduce you to my parents, which, yeah, cool. That's not new information.
Or like you'll know I like you if I tell my friends about you. Like,
yeah,
you're going to tell your friends about me before you decide that you like me.
Before you decide you like me
or hate me.
The word dolphin The word dolphin seems to be very interesting. Very common.
In what context?
Yeah, people either like either the team, the Dolphins, or just the animal, the dolphin. It's such a strange thing that's like a commonality amongst society in my Hinge algorithm. And then the last one I have is anything pertaining to food orders, which usually has tacos and tequila, or my food order, or ordering for the table. And I just want to go on the record here and say that what I've just listed out is 98% of profiles that I've seen where, there's a lot of idea that every guy's profile is holding a fish. Well, we're all not as original as we think we are, or perhaps we're all a result of the same culture. Ilana, what are some of the common things that you're seeing on your algorithm?
Like you said, like The Office, Larry David, fish, those are all over the place, but they're definitely more that spontaneous trip to Bali that apparently everyone except for me has taken. Along with that picture of you on the elephant. I don't have one of those yet, but I feel like there's something wrong with me for not having one because they're everywhere. Along with that, apparently every guy has been to Machu Picchu. Don't know what's up with that.
Wow.
Did everyone go together on this trip to collect photos in front of Machu Picchu for their dating app profiles? Maybe. A lot of people talk about Entourage, which I'm okay with because I do really like Entourage, but it can't just be Entourage. Again, it has to be something about Ari Gold or E, it has to be something specific.
What are they saying about Entourage? Shout out Jerry Ferrara, former Dating Sucks guest and big bro.
Jerry.
What are they saying about Entourage though?
If loving this is wrong, I don't want to be right, Entourage, or
Okay.
Typical Sunday Entourage. I don't know, just random
Sunday
things
entourage.
where they're just putting it in there because they can't think of anything else. All right. This year, I really want to leave my house. We all do. We get it. That's what I spend Sunday horizontal. No, ready? This one actually, anytime I see this, it's an immediate X swipe left. No, worst idea ever, downloading this app. You don't want to start out being negative. We're all here. Yeah. We're all trying to find someone for whatever we're looking for. And it's just really not attractive to start out negative and say this is my worst idea ever. Cause it's, first of all, it's not. You've definitely had worse ideas. And it's unappealing. It's wow. It makes me feel embarrassed. It's it's a bad thing that I'm here. So I don't like that. I'll fall for you if you trip me. Worst fad I ever participated in, frosted tips. First round is on me. If you show up, where to find me at the party, on the aux, with the dog, at home. Your love languages, memes, skydiving.
That's real though. That's real. Love language. My love language is Instagram DM.
But be more specific because what are you going to respond to my love language is memes, So anywho, everything that we've said, I think we've all seen these things and we've all just been there's nothing, it doesn't tell you about who the person is. And look, these are basically our dating app profiles are our resume to start a conversation with someone. That's the goal here. We're basically applying to everyone out there, start a conversation if you're interested, or send a like if you're interested. And you, just like a resume, you really want to stand out and put your best foot forward, or not even your best foot forward, just show what makes you different and what makes you who you are. And anytime you're using any of these overused things, it takes away that opportunity. And maybe if you got really specific about loving any anime or roller coasters, or you love playing board games, or even you're obsessed with playing Battleship on iMessage Game Pigeon, anything that you can be a little more specific with. You love to read, you love to make pasta from scratch, you learn to do XYZ during quarantine. The more specific you can be and the more you can give somebody a taste and sample of who you are, I think the more likely you're going to have success.
Yeah. And anime, be specific about which anime, be specific about which roller coaster. And it's the specific, it's an unfair, again, we talked about this. It's an unfair ask for anybody to have to step onto an app, have amazing photos, and be witty and specific. We get that. It is not something, and that's why you see all these answers, because people, for the most part, everyone is creative, but some people are afraid of being hyper creative because the more authentic you are to yourself, the scarier it is. What if someone doesn't like the real me? So it's a lot easier to go to one of these basic ass answers and say your favorite dinner guest is Larry David, because everyone else, I'm sure you have a friend who had the same answer. You're like, oh, that's something that's cool, so let me put that. But all those things, someone who doesn't take themselves too seriously, I'm all game for the root of that, which is like, what are you looking for? I always like to use the example of like someone who doesn't take themselves too seriously is somebody who can essentially make fun of themselves, right? I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at. And then what is a specific example of someone who's able to make fun of themselves? New York Dream Dinner guest, Larry David or John Mulaney. I guess I would want to know what you would talk about. I also don't think you want to be a dinner guest with Larry David. That sounds horrible. He's not going to be a good dinner guest.
I wonder who was the first person to come up with that started this domino effect of everyone doing it. Because I will say, like,
it's collective conscious.
Yeah. Like in my past, when I've posted on like Hinge's Instagram and on the Dating Sucks Instagram, like different prompts that I had written as content, like I had written them, and then I was like, oh, you know what? Like, let me share this as an example of a good prompt. Or like, I wrote something that was funny. Like, I'm going to share this as a prompt on social media. Guess what? A week later, I started seeing that everywhere.
Well, people on the internet also just steal each other's shit. Like it's like it's theirs.
100%. But it's like, again, this is something that was so specific to me that like, it doesn't relate to you, you know? And so I just think, I mean, it could.
That's the point of relatability, is it?
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
No, there is an endless loop. There is an endless loop that what is specific to us is also inherently universal. That's like this fucking endless loop that we exist in, which is why our tweets do so well on our IG, because you're
follow us on Twitter at seeing other people's PPLS.
Ilana's crushing it with our tweets.
Thanks, fam.
Let's go to the make me laugh. I mean, I guess it's just like, the point is, take the root of what you're trying to say and just be specific, and don't be afraid to be raw and real, and like just give an honest,
what actually makes you laugh
response.
Like, what is going to make you laugh so hard that your abs hurt or you start crying, you know, like what's going to do that? I think we should move on to starting combos. What do you think?
Let's do it. All
right. So
you match with someone.
You match with someone. Mazel tov. Congratulations. We're
Blessings.
so proud of you and excited for you. And this could be the start of something new. Troy Bolton, Gabriela Montez.
Nice.
Poetic. Okay. So how to start a conversation. What do you talk about? Because I think what happens more often than not is that you match, but nobody says anything. I'm gonna throw it out there that if you match, or like you get an incoming like, and you're like, oh, I'm going to match with this person. Say something. Don't just match. Say something. It does not matter it doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter who starts the conversation, as long as somebody starts it. Otherwise, nobody's starting it. And then you'll never know.
Yeah. Trickle down effects also. The more accurate the more original and authentic your pictures and your prompt answers are, the more that conversation is likely to happen, because there's something to talk about.
So it's easier to start that combo. Exactly.
But Ilana, what are some? They are pickup lines. I mean, that's what these are pickup lines. Hey, what's up is obviously boring. Hi, not good. Although nobody
likes the hey, what's up. I know it's the easy way out. I know sometimes it's hard to think of something. Do yourself a favor. Do not say hey, what's up. Because
so what should they say? You
should base it off of something in their profile. They hopefully were thoughtful, but not. What was your thing? Thoughtful, but not overthought. Thoughtful, but not overthought is hopefully how they set up their profile. And they have shown you places they've been, things they like to do. They've talked about. They've given you bits and pieces of information about themselves. And whether or not they did a good job at it, there's still things you can take away from there. If they're at the beach, what beach did you go to? Like, oh my God, I miss going to the beach. I haven't been to one because I don't live near a beach and quarantine, you know? There's a lot of things you can say. So do not say, hey, what's up? I think we're all at the point. What?
What if they have a basic profile? What if there's nothing there, but you think they're super cute and like their answers are Larry David and sushi and tacos and West Village and picture with the dog? What can you say to elicit a response? Ilana, let me ask just you. Like sometimes there's a thing that guys talk about where it's like, if you just say their name, like if I just said Ilana, that in like 2015, that was like a thing that dudes were like, was like a secret to dudes. Like, yo, just say her name and she'll respond. Like, it's clever.
I've done that too. I'll be like, but I won't just say Jonah. I'll say Jonah with like 4 H's.
That's right. Oh yeah. We've talked about that. Yes. Well, so what are some things
try that? Talk if there's something going on in the news or like, hopefully not.
Something going on in the news? Ilana, I want a specific, what is something that you just recently responded to on Hinge or whatever app you're on? What is something that you've responded to? Give us something specific that's not, hey, what's up? What has drawn your attention? For all the guys or girls on here who are trying to attract an Ilana, what is something that you responded to?
Okay, so my profile definitely shows off, like my dog definitely shows off places I've traveled to, definitely talks about different foods I like, which one of them is sushi, but I'm very specific about my sushi and I talk about my favorite restaurant. So they will say like, oh, like I've never been there. Like you're going to have to take me there. I will always respond to that. If they ask about my dog, I will respond to that. However, if I had a basic profile that didn't say these things, I think something about like, all right, like New Year's just passed. If this was a few weeks ago around New Year's, you could talk about like how are you spending your quarantine New Year's, you know, something like that. Or like, oh, like there's a 3-day weekend coming up. What are you doing? Like it's hard without context. And that's like, I'm struggling right now because
you are struggling.
I am struggling because it's hard to come up with something when there's nothing.
Well, I'll give a specific. Something someone said to me, like, you know, like whenever someone says like the hearty eyes emoji, I'm always like, oh, cool. I like that. Hi. You know, yeah, well, I do, but that's we're talking about me now. We're talking about how to attract someone like me. So someone said you're cute. I was like, oh, sweet. They think I'm cute. This goes back to guys wanting compliments in the episode that came right before this. Someone said, yeah.
If someone says to me, I'm cute, I'm instantly uncomfortable. I'm like, you don't know me.
Right.
But I don't want that to be the first thing you're saying to me.
That's your shit. That's your dark stuff. That's something you got to work out. But I'm saying a lot of men who, you know, we've talked when we did our episode about this, we want to be complimented. So a compliment, if you're trying to get a guy to respond, is something that's really great. I would say not too many words. And that's kind of crazy. Like I don't necessarily engage when I'm like, if there's like a giant paragraph, like it's just too much to handle on an app that is not necessarily inherently designed for long form communication. And so I like short and sweet, and like even hi would work on me. How are you? I like, what are you doing? I'll like to ask, like, what are you up to? Because like in the moment and present, I'll sometimes be like, I think I'm in love with you, which is a little bit crazy, but that's been sent before and it has gotten a response. I think like you said, though, it's easier when it's like, you know, I think pictures can do a lot. Like pictures are worth 1,000 words. So like, I find that a lot of prompts I respond to are like in reference to something that's in my picture, whether it's me wearing a certain hat or sweater. But I do think that the most annoying thing, and people do this, is that idea that let's say you comment on someone's picture, they accept the match, and then they don't respond to you. Yeah. And this just sucks for everybody. Right. So that's something where I'm like, sometimes I'll be like, wow, you're really making me message you twice, like as if I'm not existing. Right. And I get it. Sometimes you accept it because you're just on the move and it's like, oh, I can't type right now, but I want to accept this. Yeah. But that's few and that's rare. Right. So,
and then follow up with the message. Look, I said it before, I'll say it again. It does not matter. It does not matter who messages first, as long as somebody does.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of that, you're in the chat, you're in the banter. I think one thing I've seen is that the faster the conversation, the faster and more consistent the communication, the more likely it is to happen in real life or a Zoom safe date. Mm-hmm. So I don't think anybody wants to linger on the apps. I think it's always okay to just be like, hey, okay, we're both like seemingly on the same page here, like communication wise. What about, what about doing the number thing? I think that's totally cool. Here's a pet peeve though. When I'm like, let's do the number thing, text me and I'll send my number.
They don't.
Then they send their number in the message. And I'm like, but I just sent you my number. So,
I'm sorry.
Is your ego in such a horrible situation where you couldn't dare send me the text first? I have to go I have no problem doing it. And it happens 90% of the time, but I'm like, why are we doing the double number thing? Oh yeah. 90% of the time. For me, at least, it's like, let's do a number thing. And maybe they're getting the message like after, but no, there's no way. Like, there's certain people who take the initiative, and I really love it. Where I'm like, they're like, hey, it's blank from blank, and I'm like, oh great, but like, there's a lot of fucking times where I'm like, why did we both just send our numbers? Like, is it that scary to send the first text?
It shouldn't be, especially if this is someone you've decided like I'm exchanging numbers with. I want to talk to them. I think it's like silly to make one person do all of it. It should be balanced. It should be even. And yeah, sometimes you want to be like, you want to feel special and feel like they're taking the initiative. But again, if they just asked you, or like if they just gave their number and said, let's like move to text, don't give your number back. Just text them and then they will get your number. I'm like shocked right now and like disappointed in people. And that feels silly. And going off of what you said with like having that banter and then not wanting to talk forever. I think it's been like proven that the shorter the conversation, like you don't want to be messaging back and forth forever. You want to like get into a conversation and then talk about going on a date or talk about exchanging numbers, get off the app. I think on a lot of apps actually like don't have like advanced chats on purpose because they want you to get off the app so that you can then get on a date, So, and you can, once you get off the app, you can start sending gifts to each other. You can do more things. And if you're not ready to get off the app, if you're not ready to exchange numbers, I know sometimes people are hesitant from a safety perspective. They don't want to give their number out. That's fine. But again, then just like start talking about doing a video chat date or talk about planning the date in the chat, so that you can move into that conversation rather than just going back and forth every day of the week, being like, oh, how's your week going? Oh, like, what are you up to this weekend? Oh, like, happy Monday. Wednesday. Yay, we're halfway through the week. Like, that's stupid. Talk about something and then talk about what you're going to do on your date or when you're both free to hang out or when you're both free to do a video chat. Great. Love that. Can we establish that if you stop responding to somebody on an app, it's not ghosting them? It's not ghosting them. It's not. It is not. It's not. It's not. You haven't met. Is it? You don't know each other. Is it ghosting them if you stop responding to their texts? I would also vote no. But I'm curious. You haven't met. You don't know each other. Unless you've gotten into that point where you're like your pen pals, you're talking all the time. Maybe it's because you're not in the same place to meet. But like if you start like establishing an emotional connection over text, or you've done like some video chat dates and stuff, and then they stop responding. Yes, at that point you're ahead of the game. They're not just some random person that you've talked to a few times on a dating app. And there could be an actual like connection there. So yes, at that point, it can be deemed ghosting. However, if you talk a bit on dating app, you talk a bit on text, and it fizzles out, that's not ghosting. It's probably not intentional. Perfect. I completely agree with you. Okay, so you matched on the app. You had a nice, brief, specific conversation. You've exchanged phone numbers. You're off the app now, and we can't help you anymore there. Well, we can in future episodes, but for now, we're only here with you for this app section. Ilana, what if you want to go back, way back, and rekindle a conversation with someone you matched with in like June? I've done that so many times. What's the move? So first of all, there's no shame in it whatsoever. I think it's something that's like kind of funny. Like someone will kind of giggle when they see it, or like, oh, like, okay, hey. And I think what happens is sometimes like we're not getting fed people that are like interesting to us. So we're like, okay, like, I have some old matches that never went anywhere. Like clearly I liked them at some point for a reason. So I think there are a million things you can say. I think you can start out with like, it doesn't have to be serious. Oh, I'm dying to know what you ended up doing that weekend in June. Or you can look, if you did talk before and there's something that they mentioned, just like follow up as a joke. Obviously you don't care what they did that weekend in June, but it's a conversation starter and it's funny. I've definitely sent the sorry, like was in the shower, or like, oh my God, my phone died, like wasn't ignoring you.
Oh, that's funny.
Things like that. Like we're all human. We all are dealing with the same issues on dating apps. And it's also like, I've like been like, oh wow, we're both still on here. Like didn't go well for us. And there's no shame in it at all. I mean, I've had guys respond being like, so you're still single too, or like, oh, I guess it didn't work out for you with anyone else in the last like 8 months. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Here I am, like back here. It's fine. Like we all go through it. You know, we're all in this together. So I am all for doing that.
Acknowledging the situation in a funny, lighthearted way sounds like the move.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, this is a good primer for your dating profiles. Again, be authentic, and none of these things will be a problem. You know, the more close you are to yourself, the less all these things that bother us about dating apps will be a problem. So I do think now is a good time for us to get into our user questions.
One quick thing before we do, I just want to throw out there, please. Obviously, it can be exhausting, especially we've all been in those situations where we're trying, we are sending likes, we are sending comments, we are swiping right, we are trying to match with people and it's just not happening for us, or we're matching with people and the conversations aren't going anywhere, and it sucks and it hurts and it makes us feel like, oh, like I'm doing something wrong, or like I'm not good enough for these people who don't even know me. And I think the best thing to do in that situation is like take a step back and take a break, because like you are feeling burnt out and you're not excited about it and it's feeling like a chore, and that's not a good setup for like giving yourself the opportunity to really go into something with an open mind. So I think if you are feeling like burnt out, that's fine. Take a break and then go back into it when a week later, a month later, whenever you're feeling like, okay, you know what, I'm ready to give this a try again. Don't force yourself to do it if you feel like you're just having a bad month and it's not happening for you. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to come back. It's going to be all right.
Ilana always dropping always the mother of the podcast here, making us feel loved and okay.
Because I felt all these shitty feelings. I know what it's like. I've been there. And I want people to it's okay. You're not crazy.
It's totally okay.
We're all feeling these things and you're allowed to feel them. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to feel like, oh my God, dating literally is the worst thing in the world. And it's really, really fucking hard, because guess what? It is.
It's just overwhelming. I mean, and the apps don't make it any easier because they just give you a constant list. It's a game, unfortunately. I mean, video games tell you to put the game down and go for a walk. So why don't apps tell you after like 50 matches? Certain games certainly do. Yeah, they tell you, maybe you've been playing for too long.
It's wild.
Take your eyes off the screen. I mean, our phones tell us, what we're doing. Our Apple Watch tells us to go stand up. I think dating apps should be like, hey, you had 50 matches in a weekend. Maybe it's time, you go to the library or Safely or go to Whole Foods.
We'll remind you that. We can post on our Instagram story and give you that reminder. All right. Should I dive into the first question?
Go for it.
All right. This was sent from a listener. So excited y'all are back. I've been struggling so badly with even wanting to go on second dates. No one seems to pique my interest. I feel like I need to follow my heart, but am I cutting opportunities too short? When do I know if I should give a second date a shot or not? Jonah, initial thoughts? I know I definitely have some thoughts on this.
Go for it.
I think we put a lot of pressure, way too much pressure on a first date. We go into it being like, okay, is this going to be the person that I end up with or not? Like, am I going to feel a spark? Am I going to connect with them on a deeper level? And that's a lot to ask from yourself and from someone else. And there's a good chance that maybe one of you just isn't in the headspace to have that deep connection coming in that moment. I think we really just put a lot of pressure on the thought of a first date, and what a first date should really be about is, do I want to spend another few hours with this person another time? Is there something they said that I want to learn more about? Did I think they were interesting? Did I enjoy myself? I think those are the questions you should be asking, not like, is this the type of person I can see myself with for a year? I can see myself moving in with, having a family with. Like, throw those questions out the window. That does not matter right now. All that matters is like, did I have a good time? Did I enjoy myself? Do I want to see this person again?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like reading a book and you can't get to the end. You got like first chapter, interesting, are things set up that might pay off later on that you want to know more about?
Yeah.
Then keep reading. But if you really don't like the book, don't keep reading the book. No one's forcing you to. So I think that's a good answer though.
Yeah.
Second dates are real. Second dates, I mean, that's a whole thing we want to talk about. It's the path to the third date, which is something that I've had very few of until recently. But in the section of my life where I just could not get to a third date with someone, that's my own personal issues. Here we go. Second question. Thank you for writing in. To that person. Talking to the guy for 2 months and now we're in the same city. He always makes plans. He says, let's meet Thursday, for example. But when Thursday arrives, he has an excuse. Usually he's not feeling well. I say, okay. And then he sets another date and the same happens. So I really don't understand this guy. One thing he said is that he was a big freak about COVID. But even though, why does he set dates and later come back? Now I stop answering him and I don't know if I need to say something. Well, that's something, this is a classic thing that's happening. It sounds like I hate to use the word flake, but I guess the word flake does come to mind here. It sounds as if he wants to make you happy, therefore commits to a plan, but doesn't realize that by canceling the plan, he actually makes you upset and hurts you. And being the COVID freak thing sounds very real, and we can never, we cannot fault anyone for that. But you should just call him out and be like, hey, I have a feeling that maybe us getting together isn't in the immediate future. Wish you the best. Hope you the best. I do think you're cool and would love to when you have a better sense of what your availability might be. Just don't keep falling for the trap is what it sounds like.
You're going to get your hopes up every time. And then each time you get your hopes up, you're like, okay, like this is going to be the time. And then it hurts more when it's not, especially
Correct.
The longer you talk to him. And I'm sure in this time, you're not just talking about making plans, you're talking about other things. You're connecting on things you both like. So as time goes on, you're more excited to meet him. You're more interested in him. And then each time it hurts a little bit more when he cancels. So I think like Jonah said, maybe call him out, just put it out there that you want to meet him when it's a better time. He can let you know that. Otherwise, I'm sure there are plenty of people who would be very lucky to have the opportunity to go out with you, who you would be really excited about, who are not going to continue to do this and get in this.
By the way, Ilana, I have a 3-date rule where if I say to someone, if there's cancels for a third time, Ooh. I say, look, if we don't make it happen this third time, then let's wait a little while. And it's like, no hard feelings and disrespect, but like, it's not going to work. Like, let's not do this. And then that typically actually makes something happen. I also do this in my professional career where if someone's moving a meeting on me, which doesn't necessarily always happen, but some people like to move meetings. If we get to a third, I say, look, obviously you're very busy and I hope to work with you in the future and we can connect in the future. And then, by the way, whenever that happens in career stuff, people freak out in a positive way. And I'll get fucking phone calls from people who should have no business calling me, being like, oh my God, like, hey, so how can I, what are we talking? What are we doing? And I'm like, So any filmmakers out there, cancel that third general. If you get canceled on, keep pushing or tell them that it's done. Third question, I don't want to give it a read.
Hey, my best friend and climbing partner recently got out of a relationship about 2 months ago. He kissed me and expressed his attraction. After some time, he did say, hey, I'm starting over. Okay. Question. My best friend and climbing partner recently got out of a relationship about 2 months ago. He kissed me and expressed attraction. After some thinking, we decided to try a relationship. Last night, he warned me he feels like more time should have passed after the breakup, and he's a really emotionally unavailable person. WTF. That being said, he still wants to go slow and explore how we feel and all, but doesn't want to hurt me. Gah, men are so frustrating. I feel this. Women are also frustrating. All people are also frustrating. I think he definitely, he kissed you. He expressed attraction. He wanted to try it out. He definitely has feelings for you. There's no hiding that. He has feelings for you, but he also got out of a relationship. Maybe he thought okay, you know what? I'm over that person. I'm ready for this. And then once he tried it, he was like, holy shit, I'm actually not ready. but I do like you and I don't want to hurt you. And he's probably just as confused as you are about how to go about the situation because he likes you, but he doesn't want to hurt you, but he needs more time and doesn't know where he's at. And it sucks. And yeah, it's frustrating and it's complicated, but unfortunately, I think some situations are. I mean, I don't know that I have a specific answer, but I think I would encourage you to be very open with him about your feelings and really over communicate and make sure you both are really like talking about what's going on, because at the end of the day, like this person is your best friend and you don't want to lose that friendship. Jonah, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess I don't see how he's being frustrating. He's being 100% transparent. And the frustrating part is that we can't always have what we want when we want it. So like, I don't know. Like, yeah, this feels like kind of like a diary entry. And it's like, I'm totally here with this. Like I've been in this boat too with this person where I'm like, oh, I wish they would just, come on. Like it's so annoying that they had to get a relationship. But like,
I know. I mean, I don't think they meant that like, the men is frustrating thing, I think, is just like a vent part. More so the situation is frustrating.
But look, it sounds like you have all the evidence you need here. And there's like this is like an easy diagnosis of like, yeah, he just got out of a relationship. He obviously likes you. And like in that moment, what is he going to do? Not act. And then by accepting the kiss, you're kind of signing the contract as well as like, I know what's up here. So I guess it's more like this sounds like a plot of a rom-com. You guys are both climbing partners.
Jonah's about to write a script.
No, the climbing partner thing's good, and my best friend and climbing partner. Like the idea of climbing a rock wall is a perfect metaphor for a relationship and someone having to be the belay. So thank you for the idea. I'm taking it. But yeah.
Jonah will have his people call your people.
Oh, no. This is just IP at this point. Yeah, I'm not going to, but appreciate the question. If you guys do want to write us questions and get involved here, we do have a Patreon, which prioritizes our patrons for their questions being answered. And then of course you can always write us at seeingotherpeoplepodcast@gmail.com. You can also DM us. Again, a quick shout out to our Patreon account. You can get a profile revamp. You can get a sweatshirt, a hat, get your questions answered, private AMA, private episode of the month. A lot of awesome perks on there that hopefully benefit you guys in a specific and tangible way and support Ilana and I as freelance creators. You're smiling. Why are you smiling?
Because we have to do our dating term of the week.
Of course.
And I just pulled it up. Ready? Are you guys ready for this one? This one's a good one. Our dating term of the week is Zooty call. When someone hits you up late night for a virtual hookup via Zoom, a Zooty call. Jonah, have you been Zooty called?
I've never been Zooty called. No, have you?
I have not been Zooty called. If you have been Zooty called, message us, email us, let us know about your Zooty call experience, but not in too much detail, please.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I've never even had like cyber sex on Zoom. Like that's not something I've done because it would be a FaceTime or it wouldn't be live. It'd be like Instagram disappearing messages type shit. But Zooty call. There you go, guys. There's the dating term of the weeks. As always, we truly appreciate. Please do. We truly appreciate you listening to this episode. You can support us by just sharing the podcast, telling your friends about it. If you got something beneficial, write to us, communicate with us, and
love us. Just give us attention, love and attention.
Attention. I'm actually all attentioned out. I don't need any, but please take that attention and give it to the lovely Ilana to the right. I don't need any more attention.
Give me all the attention.
Anyway, appreciate everybody. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.